Welcome back to IPBC Asia 2015, coming to you from the Palace Hotel here in Tokyo. IP valuation is on everybody's lips at this year's conference again, and our next guest says it's a little bit like buying a house. Either you can get a market rate for the house, or you can see what value and economic benefit the house brings to you. Pascal Asselot from France Brevet. When you look at the valuations, has it become easier than when we had this conversation about a year or two ago at the last IPBC?
First, we had this conversation many years ago, and for the last 10 years we have this conversation, and we'll probably have this conversation in 10 years if we are still in business, which I hope. I think it is still difficult, but the discussions about IP value is mostly related to legal decisions and to court decisions. So in recent years, you've seen many, let's say, adverse decisions. These decisions have caused volatility in the market, and this is why you see some depressed people or diverging view on the patent valuation. But it's an interesting business. It's an interesting moment to be in the valuation.
But still, it's not a conversation that we're having in isolation, because at the same time we're also talking about NPEs and the changing and developing roles of these practicing entities. We're also looking very differently now at the quality of patents. That's also become a much bigger talking point. And when we're talking about quality, aren't we already getting to the more applied valuations of patents rather than the legal one?
It's true. I mean, and even we are in Tokyo, and we've heard speakers from China, and they admitted themselves that at the beginning they were just quantity oriented, and they recognize now that they're moving into the quality, and they are issuing and putting a lot of efforts to issue quality patents. The next move, and they are claiming this, is to get a proper enforcement environment in China, and also in Japan and in Korea. This is a similar discussions. They want, the right enforcement environment to value, to make use, to monetize their quality assets.
Are you finding that Asian companies generally are moving along the sophistication curve that you talked about, or is this just some isolated leaders?
Frankly, I've been impressed by Asian companies recently, especially Chinese companies. 10 years ago, they would see NPs as evil, and now they say, interesting business. You know that I'm filing patents, and that I'd like to enforce my patents. So, frankly, really impressed by Chinese companies.
What has brought that about, this change?
They invested a vast amount of money in patents, because they see patent filing outside. They file their patents, and now they want to make use of their investments. It's really like the copyright industry. 10 years ago, the first companies wanting to have strong copyright environment in China were actually Chinese content providers. It's very surprising, but they actually pushed and established a right copyright environment in China. You see exactly the same at the moment for the patents in China.
One of the speakers at the conference was talking about how much more expensive it's become to monetize patents. Guy Proul made that point on the panel this morning. That would suggest that the cost of litigation have gone up. It implies that, generally speaking, it's become a much more bogged down industry, which gets us further and further away from what patents are supposed to be doing, and that is to protect innovation and foster innovation.
This is true, but I would claim that this is a very US-centric approach. In the US, it's obscenely expensive to defend your patents. This is changed. And this is obscenely expensive, and this is less and less rewarding. So you would see a focus moving away from the US into new territories. Europe with UPC is one. China is another one. I've heard this morning people from Korean office, Japan office, defending their environment to defend patents and to enforce patents. So this is just, what you're saying is just really US-centric, and it's moving away from the US, which is unfair.
You're based in France. Of course, the European Union is bringing in some very substantial changes to patents next year. How do you think that will change the playing field and again cast new light on the value of IP?
Even in Europe, there are diverging views on the value of the patents and what kind of enforcement environment you should have in Europe. You have the recent IEEE policy, IP policy pushing for the smallest sellable unit, which is bad for patent valuation. So it's still a moving environment. Obviously, we are promoting a strong IP environment because with a strong IP environment comes a positive investment in innovation. These are closely linked. Obviously, this link somehow is broken or not very evidenced. So we want to promote the environment, to promote the innovation.
Finally, looking at the Asian buy side, are they increasingly prepared to pay for IT when, arguably in the past, it's been very transactional? Think of financial services. People are more likely to prefer to pay a commission on financial products they buy rather than to pay for the IP, the quality of the advice.
The easy answer is yes. The more sophisticated answer is, you have more and more skills in Asia too. So there are sophisticated buyers. So there is no reason why they would look at the patent value differently from the US buyers. So they are very sophisticated. They only look at what value can the specific patent portfolios bring them to. So a lot of sophistication.
All right, Pascal Asselot, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us today from France Brevet here at the IPBC Asia conference in Tokyo.